microphone for a little bit. So, anyway, let me go ahead and take a look on the microphone for a second. So, let me go ahead and just turn it off and turn back on, by the way. So, give me a sec while I do this. So, in three, two, one, zero. Alright, so hopefully the microphone, like I said, is definitely properly working, by the way, because I think hopefully the microphone does kind of work, by the way, and, I hope it really does work, by the way, so. Anyway, it is time we shall definitely get started with this live stream today, and we shall, hopefully see what happens anyway of today's live stream we're going to be doing, by the way. So, in today's live stream we're going to be doing is an Indiana Colts live stream time. It's going to be in our that's going to be in our fourth channel, by the way, and, it's definitely going to be focused on about, Mario's favorite team is the Indiana Colts, by the way. The Indianapolis Colts, by the way. Or, yeah, pretty much as you guys can see here on the thumbnail. That you guys can probably see why on the thumbnail. But we're going to pretty much get straight to the point anyways. And for considered reasons, by the way, is that, I just want to let you guys know about the next bad news thing that actually did happen to the Houston Texans, that they freaking lost to the complete obvious freaking stupid Chargers, which I'm like, oh, are you freaking serious, bruh? Like, are you actually serious? So that's probably why, for an example, that's probably the explanatory of why, by the way. So I guess I could say that's just probably why they lost. But like I said, I know it's preseason and all, but hey, at least I'm wanting to kind of get something out, by the way, in this channel. So it's probably why I actually am focusing to get something out, by the way. So it's probably why I'm focusing on that, by the way. And speaking of focusing that, by the way, is I think, like I said earlier, for most of everyone, by the right now, is I think for as of you guys, by the way, are Indianapolis Colts fans. If you guys are like Indianapolis Colts fans, by the way, then feel free to jump right onto this live stream, by the way. Then feel free to hop on in, by the way, since, well, technically Mario is a Colts fan, so that's all I want to let you guys know. And yes, it's a horseshoe. So for those who do not know what that actually means, it's a horseshoe. Like a horseshoe kind of a team, by the way, which is more like a horse team exactly. So that's all I want to let you guys know about. And speaking about that beyond the question, by the way, is I do want you guys to kind of know, by the way, again, exactly, is that I think for the most interesting question of all, by the way, is I think I have to say that, well, Mario, on the other hand, was challenging the New England Patriots, or should I say Mario's favorite team, Indianapolis Colts, versus New England Patriots, which I have to say that is a pretty interesting face-off so far. Which, like I said, who do I think who kind of actually deserved my vote, by the way? Who thinks who should have won, by the way, in this time? It was definitely Mario's team, because I was rooting for Mario's team over than the New England Patriots, which I have to say that, yeah, yeah, pretty much I'm rooting for that team. Yes, I was actually rooting for that team, and I kind of somehow didn't expect, for some reason, though, I didn't kind of expect that. Well, it did that actually did kind of left to a tie, by the way, in the end, exactly, which was 13-13. So I'm like, geez, bro. I'm like, geez. Like, for some reason, by the way, I think, like I said, Mario, by the way, hasn't mentioned about like a football player name yet. But like I said, on most separate channels, like I said, are definitely going to be mentioning about like football players, pretty much exactly about what their favorites exactly would be. So I'd say in this very question, yet beyond, as I think Mario was definitely rooting for the Colts and cheering on for them, by the way, and was taking on the New England Patriots. And it was definitely in New England, exactly New England Stadium, of course, which I'm like, yeah, at this point, I hope that Mario actually would have won, by the way, which, I was rooting for Mario's team, and I hope that they kind of did win, by the way, by the time yesterday, that I hope they actually did win, by the way, which it would have been pretty cool if like Indianapolis Colts did win and beat the New England Patriots, because that's just, something I would expect almost like every day. Which, coming as a Seahawk fan, I actually was gonna root for like I was gonna root for is the Colts exactly. So yes, I was definitely rooting for the Colts over the Patriots of New England. So I'd say, yeah, take that, New England Patriots. Take that, bro. I mean, like, take that. Like, seriously, take that, bro. Just take that. For some reason, I'd say that yes, and many other interesting reasons, I'd say, yeah, for once, I'll be fair with you guys, by the way. I'll actually be really, really, really fair, by the way, with you, by the way, by any chance, is that, I actually would say definitely the Colts over the New England because it's just kind of a better way to kind of go on about it exactly and explain the reason towards the why is because I think that the Indianapolis Colts deserve like a very interesting good win, which I know it didn't actually happen by the way, but I think they kind of ended a tie for 13-13 at the end, which I was like, wait, what? Like, come on, Colts, you guys had like one interesting good job like one interesting job to beat New England, which, I know that they could have done that, by the way, but like I said, I think it came to the point where it was actually at the end of the second, by the way, and say it was just confirmation, by the way, that it was just like, oh, confirmation is confirmation, by the way, is that, I think, like I said beforehand, that most of any of us, by the way, would have expected is that, it definitely ended in a tie, which I think that the Colts could have done better to pretty much beat Patriots because I mean, as in for my reason to say why I would say Mario's team is just better than New England exactly is because I think for some reason, as I say, as a Seahawk and a Texan fan right now, is I'd say for once, please just beat them. By the way, just seriously beat them. Because I mean, New England Patriots has been so relevant, and I mean, god dang relevant for so freaking long anyway. Like seriously, they've been super relevant ever since they were on the course. Which I mean, seriously, like the New England Patriots are so relevant by the way, which I'm just trying to say this as an example by the way, that they actually do like I said beforehand by the way, are actually a bit related exactly like they've been that completely irrelevant by the way by saying is like they've won a lot of Super Bowls which we all could go and get on by and it's like we all get that understanding at that point by them actually winning like a lot of times but like I said when it does come down to when it does come down to like Mario's team which I was referring to aka Mario's team by the way I was referring to them, by the way, to actually still win. So I'd say, yeah, still say, by the way, that I think Mario's team of his favorite team is the Colts, which I'd say, I think in some time right now, I think the Colts could have totally would have like dominated New England Patriots anytime anyway. So they could have really done that, by the way. They could have actually really done that, by the way. But yeah, seriously though, like. I like I said, I do kind of wish that it didn't end up in a tie, but I think I said before that I think they did end up in a tie. By the way, which I know they definitely did end up in a tie. Which you know, I think Mario's favorite team, the Colts, by the way, could have actually dominated the New England Patriots, and a reason that they could have actually beat them in the final end of the fourth quarter, which you know, they could have really actually had done that, by the way. They could have actually really had like dominated them in a very, interesting part exactly by knowing how the Indianapolis Colts could have probably would have dominated the whole interesting knockout, by the way, which was pretty interesting. Which I do for once, by again, by the way, that I do kind of wish that they could have actually, like, oh, I think the Colts could have actually had won the whole thing if the Colts actually would have, like, done something about that one, which I know they could have tried, but I'm, like, saying is, like, yeah, I mean, they could have really just tried, man. They could have really just tried. But what was the answer? Probably not. I'm just gonna say like, probably not, man. I'm like just probably not. So, probably not. And speaking about that already, by the way, is I want you guys to kind of know, by the way, is that it's pretty interesting to kind of know about like notifying, by the way. It's just so very uniquely interesting, by the way, by kind of knowing is that, I did wish that the the Colts would have probably got more movements a little bit and would have won easily. But like I said, it's at the end of the day, it is what it is exactly because it is exactly like it is what it is. By the way, just it is what it is exactly. So you know, it is what it is exactly. Of course, it is what it is. So. Anyway, that's all I wanted you guys to kind of know, by the way, is that, yeah, I'd say that I think the Colts could have probably done a very interesting job. They could have, like, hopefully would have won for the best, but I'd say, I hopefully they would have won exactly. And also, here's the true reason why Mario actually started liking the Indianapolis Colts, by the way, even though that Mario and Luigi are technically from the Mushroom Kingdom in Brooklyn, exactly, which it does make sense that I'll actually agree for one thing, by the way, is that I know that that I do know that, by the way, that I kind of actually understand and get that point, by the way, is that, well, I do kind of understand again, by the way, where that is coming from, by the way, is like, oh, like I said, I do know that the Mario Brothers, which is definitely Mario and Luigi, I know that they actually are from Brooklyn, but Luigi doesn't cheer on for like simply like Mario's team pretty much is Indianapolis Colts because I mean, even though that yes, technically I know they're brothers at the end of the day, but I think Luigi would definitely support the Indianapolis Colts like less support for like Mario's team, but for like I said, there could probably be a different movement at the middle, which I think in the middle where Luigi might start cheering for them to win, but if they actually do kind of lose, Luigi probably won't cheer for them exactly. But if they do kind of win, I think Luigi might actually cheer for them, I guess. But I don't know. But all I can say, by the way, in this very interesting point of view of conversation, by the way, is I think that yes, technically on Mario's full explanation is I think he kind of liked the blue so far a little bit with like the Colts, by the way, of liking the idea or like a color name or something like a very interesting color name from context, a little bit of like that comes from like Indiana, so it is pretty interesting like that. Exactly. It's like pretty interesting. That's probably what I can say, of course, which is like pretty much. Like, I know that Mario and Luigi are definitely from Brooklyn and Italy, pretty much. I think they're kind of both from anywhere, those places, pretty much. And, I think that's probably why, considering as like a Brooklyn fan, that Mario and Luigi are definitely from, and so is like Italy, exactly, which, they probably would say that Mario is the one who likes the Indianapolis Colts first, because I think, well, in some part of history, that Mario did kind of looked up on their Super Bowl wins and I'd say that, well, they won like a lot of times, like, I mean, 3 or 4 times, I think, maybe, since they probably have what, like, actually, like, what, won like 3 or 4 times, probably, which was just like, I don't know if it was true or not, but I think it was probably somewhere like on Google for you guys to search it up, by the way, and just say that, yes, that's probably like a very interesting confirmation, by the way, so, yeah, that's all I can let you guys know about that, that's probably why Mario started liking the Indianapolis Colts, by the way. So that's probably why he liked that team. And, it's pretty much why he likes that team anyway. But, fair enough, as I say again, is fair enough, though. Just fair enough. So, with that being said, anyways, and with that most likely to be here and said again, folks, is that I want you guys to kind of know, by the way, is if you guys are actually new on this channel, by the way, feel free to give this video a like and comment, subscribe to the bell, be notified, and, there is going to be a second part in the live stream, by the way, where, like, this is going to be like another thumbnail, by the way, of In Up His Colts again, by the way. Well, it's actually going to, like, appear on Mario's face, by the way, where he actually might appear to the live stream, or if not, by the way, it's just going to be what the thumbnail is going to look like, by the way. So, yeah, that's all I want to, like, kind of give you guys an update about that, by the way, of Indianapolis Colts, pretty much exactly. So, as I said before, if you guys are like an Indianapolis Colts fan, then go on and subscribe to this fifth channel, by the way, so that way that you don't miss a single video that comes straight onto this fifth channel, by the way, of Golden Devin-Foxy's Mario channel. So, feel free to subscribe to any time, basically, subscribe to this channel, by the way, and we'll see what keeps on happening, by the way. And here's another question after this live stream does kind of get finished, by the way, is here's another question for you. Here's another question for you guys, by the way. So, here's another question for context, by the way, is that the next question, by the way, is after Mario's two other live streams are done is that the main question is, will Luigi, by the way, actually, get a live stream pretty much in this channel? The answer is that yes, it's going to be about like Detroit Lions, by the way, which I think, like I said, I did kind of heard some from the beginning where Luigi's team, aka Detroit Lions, by the way, that actually started first, by the way, in preseason. They had to challenge the Bengals of Cincinnati Bengals, which I mean, that's kind of like the longest name we kind of ever might have heard and expected to kind of hear that long name. So I'd say, I think Luigi did cheer on for like Detroit Lions, but so far, yeah, I was going to tell you guys that another time, but I think that they did lost to Bengals at the end of the game. By the way, I think they definitely did lost to the Bengals at the end of the game yesterday, which that did actually kind of sucks, by the way, which I'm like, jeez, bro, that's just like freaking crazy. Like that's actually just terrifyingly crazy at this point, which, no offense though, but like I said, I think at the end of the day, I think Luigi's team could have probably won. And who I actually rooted for? Luigi's team actually. I was rooting for like Luigi's Detroit Lions pretty much to take down the Cincinnati Bengals, but I think at the end of the time already again is I think that Luigi's team, Detroit Lions, had lost to them pretty much. Was just like, jeez. I'm just like, jeez, bro. That's just like, jeez. That's pretty insane right there. I'm like, good freaking jeez. That's pretty crazy, bro. Like, imagine how crazy and insane that there. Like, imagine how crazy and insane that is right there. Like, oh, good freaking God, bro. That is just freaking nuts. But, for real though, that's pretty insane right there. That's pretty insane, exactly. So I'd say that's pretty nuts. So, with that being said, anyways, I'm definitely am going to come down to 5 seconds anyway because I think I'm waiting for more people to show up on the live stream, but I'm just trying to keep my eyes a bit open as I can, which I've been trying to keep my eyes a little open for you guys a little bit just to kind of get this live stream done. So that's what I've been wanting to let you guys know about. That I was just having a little bit of a sleep a little bit before I probably would and kind of get that entire likely bit done here, but we'll see what happens anyway until the next live stream, I guess. But the next live stream I want you guys to kind of know, by the way, again, that the next live stream is going to be about is, yep, you guessed it, by the way, it's going to definitely be a second part with the Indiana and sorry, it's going to be the Indianapolis Colts. Yes, that's going to probably be like a second part to the whole live stream, by the way, is definitely Indiana Colts, by the way, which is definitely going to be about Mario's second part of the live stream, which is definitely going to be like appearing for him to show up on the thumbnail exactly. But so I want you guys to kind of know about. But anyway, if you guys enjoy this live stream, remember, if you guys are actually a new person to the channel, then I suggest you guys subscribe to this channel and give this channel lots, and I mean lots of support, because we really want you guys to support this channel, by the way, of this fifth channel, by the way. I'd say please go on and subscribe. That would be like truly amazing. That would be very absolute cinema from you guys. That would be absolute cinema. But let that being said, anyway, is that thank you guys again for watching. Take care now. Hope that you guys enjoyed this video, and it's actually still confirmed that Mario actually is still going to continue to root for the Indianapolis Colts by the of preseason and regular season. And I think Mario at the end of the day, by the way, and again, I think he's just definitely rooting for Indianapolis Colts. So I'd say, yeah, that's probably why Mario is actually rooting for that team. Which, like I said, even though that Mario and Luigi are definitely from Brooklyn and Italy exactly, which I can understand why they were actually from there exactly. So, that's probably what I would say. But as of now, folks, I will see you guys later. I'll see you guys next time. So thank you guys again for watching. And remember, if you guys are a new person to this channel, then like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell to be notified, so that way that you won't miss a single video that comes on this channel. Thanks. Anyway, see you guys later. Goodbye and sign out. Later and see you later, everyone. Goodbye and see you next time. Goodbye, everybody.